I've talked before about the brain, about neuroplasticity, about the nervous system, about how patterns like suppression or people-pleasing, overperforming get wired in. But today, I want to bring in another lens, the soul. Now, let me be clear, this is not the only interpretation. This is just my way of looking at it, an interpretation based on research I've done, years of curiosity, and my own lived experiments. I don't think that any of us has the answer. I'm less interested in final answers and more interested in what helps each of us find our answers. That's why I like to offer different entry points, because what feels congruent to your nervous system, what resonates in your soul, is going to be different than what resonates for me. So some of you will connect with the science words, others with the soul language, and both are beautiful. The more entry points that we have, the more chances we have to soften resistance and step into change. Now let's start with stuckness. So patterns like emotional suppression, people-pleasing, or overperforming aren't flaws of character. They are survival strategies. And from a science lens, every time you suppress or please or push yourself, neurons fire together, circuits get reinforced. Cortisol, adrenaline, dopamine, they all wire these loops deeper. And over time, the nervous system calls it normal. Science calls it homeostasis or allostasis. From a soul lens, suppression feels like muting your truth. Pleasing feels like dimming your own light to keep others comfortable. Overperforming feels like forgetting your worth, thinking you have to prove your right to exist. Soul calls that disharmony, fragmentation, living out of tune with who you really are. Different words, same reality, same stuckness. I actually love that we have parallel words. In science, we say homeostasis, the body's set point for stability. In spirit, we say harmony, when the pieces of you feel in tune. So when you rewire your nervous system with breath or rest or boundaries or expression, science says you're shifting homeostasis. Soul says you're coming back into harmony. So again, the words are different, but they're pointing at the same shift. Here's why I think both matter. So science gives us knowledge. It explains the mechanisms. It takes away shame. Oh, it's not that I'm broken, it's my nervous system doing what it learned to do. Soul gives us wisdom. It explains the meaning. Oh, it's not just about my circuits, it's about my spirit calling me back to wholeness. So knowledge and wisdom together create richness. They tickle the brain, they open the senses, they create multiple doorways. And sometimes that's all it takes to dislodge a piece of trauma, whether it's a small T, daily suppressions, or a big T, overwhelm stored in the body. That's why I play with ideas and offer them, because the more entry points, the more possibilities for change. Which brings me to, how do we change? Well, every practice works on both levels. Take naming emotions. Science says it calms the amygdala, engages the prefrontal cortex. Soul says your truth is finally spoken. Take boundaries. Science says they rewire your tolerance for conflict, they reshape the insula, build interoception. Soul says boundaries affirm your sovereignty, your light doesn't need to shrink. Take rest. Science says cortisol recalibrates, vagal tone improves, HRV goes up. Soul says your worth is not what you do, but who you are. The nervous system is the instrument. The soul is the musician. Practices tune the instrument, and then the soul chooses what music to play. So when I first started this work, I was focused solely on chronic illness, on how the body carries load, nervous system care, physical support. But the more that I explored, the more I saw how emotional suppression, people-pleasing, and overperforming often lead the body to carry more and more stress, inflammation, and exhaustion. So now my focus is broader, not just illness, depression, anxiety, but the systems that we live in every day that keep us compressed and suppressed. Science explains how those patterns wire into the body. Soul explains how they fracture coherence. Healing is when both come back into alignment. So if you're here and you feel stuck, I want you to know there isn't just one way in. Science offers knowledge. Soul offers wisdom. Both give us keys. And it's not about me knowing everything, because I don't. I just know some things about some things. What I share are perspectives, not prescriptions. Every nervous system is unique. Every soul is unique. What resonates for you may not resonate for someone else, and that's okay. My hope is that by playing with both languages, something lands, something passes through resistance, something softens enough to give you one more doorway toward change. Because when your brain understands why and your soul feels moved, motivation rises, and that's where shifts can happen. So let's keep exploring. Let's keep finding words, practices, metaphors, stories, not to find the answer, but to expand the ways in which we find our answers.